Jimmy Fallon was reviewing his monologue notes in the green room when he noticed someone who clearly didn't belong in the usual pre-show chaos of celebrities, agents, and production assistants. Sitting quietly in a corner chair was a young man, probably in his late 20s, wearing what looked like hospital scrubs under a worn leather jacket. His head was completely bald, and he had the pale, tired look that Jimmy had learned to recognize from his visits to children's hospitals over the years. The man was watching something on his phone with earbuds in, and Jimmy could see him smiling and occasionally chuckling silently at whatever he was viewing. Despite his obvious illness, there was something bright about his expression, something that suggested an inner strength that hadn't been diminished by whatever medical battle he was fighting. Jimmy approached carefully, not wanting to intrude. "Hey there," he said gently. "I'm Jimmy. Are you here for tonight's show?" The young man looked up and immediately pulled out his earbuds, his face lighting up with recognition and disbelief. "Oh my God, you're Jimmy Fallon." "I'm Marcus Chen. And yes, I'm here for the show, but honestly, I can't believe I made it." "What do you mean?" Jimmy asked, taking a seat nearby. Marcus gestured to his hospital clothes with a self-deprecating smile. "I was supposed to start a new round of chemo this afternoon, but my oncologist gave me a 24-hour window. Said my white cell count was just high enough to postpone treatment until tomorrow. So I took a cab straight here from Mount Sinai." Jimmy felt his heart sink and his admiration for this stranger grow simultaneously. "Marcus, that's incredible. You came here straight from the hospital?" "I've been trying to get tickets to your show for 2 years, Marcus explained. "Every time I got close, something would happen. Emergency surgery, complications, extended stays. My friends started joking that the Tonight Show was cursed for me." "How long have you been dealing with this?" Jimmy asked gently. "Acute lymphoblastic leukemia. 3 years now. I was doing really well for a while, in remission for 18 months. But it came back 6 months ago, and this time well, let's just say my doctors aren't using words like optimistic anymore." The matter-of-fact way Marcus delivered this devastating news struck Jimmy powerfully. There was no self-pity, no dramatic emphasis, just the straightforward honesty of someone who had learned to live with uncertainty. "Marcus, can I ask you something? Why was it so important to you to come to the show tonight?" Marcus smiled, and for the first time, Jimmy saw a hint of vulnerability beneath his brave exterior. "Your show has gotten me through the worst nights. When I'm in the hospital at 3 a.m., unable to sleep because of pain or nausea or just fear, I watch Tonight Show clips on my phone. Your laugh makes me laugh, even when I don't think I have any laughter left in me." Jimmy was quiet for a moment, processing the weight of what Marcus had just shared. "There's something else," Marcus continued. "Tomorrow, when I start this new treatment protocol, there's about a 60% chance it won't work. And if it doesn't work," he shrugged with practiced acceptance, "my doctors have been honest with me about what that means. So tonight feels like maybe my last chance to laugh with you instead of just laughing at you on a screen." Jimmy felt tears threatening his eyes. "Marcus, what can I do? What would make tonight special for you?" "Honestly, just being here is enough. Just seeing you do your monologue live, being in the same room where all that laughter happens, that's already more than I hoped for." But Jimmy was already thinking bigger. "Marcus, what if I told you I wanted you to help me with tonight's show?" Marcus looked confused. "Help you? I don't understand." "What if instead of just watching the show, you became part of it? What if we found a way to use your story to help other people understand what laughter can mean to someone who really needs it?" "Jimmy, I'm not a performer. I'm just a guy who's trying not to die." "Marcus, you've been performing for 3 years. You've been performing hope when you didn't feel hopeful. You've been performing strength when you felt weak. That's the most important kind of performance there is." Jimmy excused himself and found his head producer. I need to make some changes to tonight's show, he announced. What kind of changes? I met someone in the green room, a young man named Marcus who has leukemia. He came here straight from the hospital because watching our show helps him get through his treatment. I want to do something for him. What did you have in mind? I want to make him a co-host for the night. I want to show the world what courage looks like, and I want to give Marcus something to fight for. 30 minutes later, Jimmy was explaining his plan to Marcus, who looked simultaneously terrified and excited. You want me to come on stage with you? I want you to help me prove that laughter really is medicine, Jimmy said. I want you to show people that even when you're facing the worst thing you can imagine, you can still find reasons to smile. But what would I do? I don't know how to be on television. Just be yourself. Tell people what laughter has meant to you during your treatment. Help me make some jokes. Show everyone that having cancer doesn't mean you can't be funny. Marcus was quiet for a long moment. Jimmy, what if I'm not inspiring? What if I'm just sad and sick? Then you'll be sad and sick, and that's okay too. But Marcus, I don't think that's who you are. I think you're someone who found a way to keep laughing when most people would have given up. That's not sad. That's miraculous. The show began normally with Jimmy delivering his monologue with characteristic energy. But after the first commercial break, something unprecedented happened. Ladies and gentlemen, Jimmy announced, I want to introduce you to someone special. Earlier tonight, I met a young man named Marcus Chen in our green room. Marcus came here tonight straight from the hospital, where tomorrow he starts a new round of chemotherapy for leukemia. The studio audience immediately grew quiet and attentive. Now, Marcus told me that our show has helped him through some of his darkest nights, and that made me realize something. Comedy isn't just about making people laugh. It's about reminding people that even in the hardest times, joy is still possible. So I asked Marcus if he wanted to help me prove that tonight. Jimmy gestured toward the wings. Marcus, would you come out here? Marcus walked onto the Tonight Show stage wearing his hospital scrubs, his bald head catching the studio lights. The audience began applauding, but Marcus looked genuinely overwhelmed by the experience. Marcus, Jimmy said once he joined him at the desk, how are you feeling right now? Terrified, Marcus admitted, which got a laugh from the audience, but also kind of amazing. This is surreal. Tell everyone what you told me about laughter and chemotherapy. Marcus took a deep breath. Well, chemo is really hard. It makes you feel awful, and you spend a lot of time in hospital rooms trying not to think about scary things. But I discovered that if I watch funny videos on my phone, especially Jimmy's show, the treatment goes faster. The nurses started calling me the giggling patient because I'd be cracking up while getting IV medications. The audience was hanging on his every word. The weird thing is, Marcus continued, laughing actually helps with the nausea, like scientifically. My oncologist says that laughter releases endorphins that can help with pain and nausea. So Jimmy's show is literally medicine for me. Jimmy was amazed by Marcus's natural ability to connect with the audience. Marcus, I want to try something. I want to do a segment where we create laughter medicine for other people who might be going through what you're going through. What do you mean? I mean, what if we made some jokes specifically designed to help people who are in hospitals or dealing with illness? What kind of humor do you think works best when you're not feeling well? Marcus thought for a moment. It has to be gentle humor, nothing too intense or loud, and it's better when it's about universal things rather than current events, because when you're sick, you kind of lose track of what's happening in the world. Show me, Jimmy said. What makes you laugh when you're feeling terrible? Marcus looked directly into the camera. Okay, so this might sound weird, but I love impressions of everyday objects. Like, Jimmy, can you do an impression of a hospital vending machine? Jimmy immediately understood and launched into a routine where he pretended to be a vending machine that always steals people's money and never gives them what they want. Marcus was laughing so hard he started coughing, but he waved off Jimmy's concern. "That's perfect," Marcus said when he caught his breath, "because everyone knows that feeling of being frustrated with a vending machine. But when you're in a hospital, you're trapped with the same terrible vending machine for weeks." "Your turn," Jimmy said. "Do an impression of something." "I'm not good at impressions," Marcus protested. "Try anyway." Marcus thought for a moment, then began doing an impression of a cheerful nurse trying to take blood at 5 a.m. His version was spot on and hilarious, capturing the awkward energy of someone trying to be upbeat while causing mild discomfort. The audience was loving it, but more importantly, Jimmy could see that Marcus was coming alive on stage. The sick, tired young man from the green room had transformed into a natural performer. "Marcus," Jimmy said, "I want to make you an offer. What if we created a special segment called Medicine Comedy that we could share online for people in hospitals?" "You mean like a regular thing?" "I mean like a thing we do whenever we meet someone who understands what humor means to people who are fighting battles like yours." Marcus was quiet for a moment, and Jimmy could see him processing the implications. "Jimmy, can I tell you something?" "Of course." "When I was first diagnosed, I thought my life was over. I thought cancer meant no more fun, no more spontaneity, no more dreams. But being here tonight doing comedy with you, I realize I was wrong. Having cancer doesn't mean you can't live. It just means you have to be more intentional about living." The studio was completely silent now, everyone absorbed in Marcus's words. "So yes, I'd love to help create comedy for other people who are where I am. Because if my story can help one person laugh during chemo, then everything I've been through means something more than just me getting sick." Jimmy stood up and walked around the desk to where Marcus was sitting. "Marcus, you've just given me and everyone watching the most important reminder possible. That courage doesn't mean not being scared. It means choosing to keep living and laughing even when you are scared." The audience erupted in applause, but Jimmy wasn't finished. "Marcus, I want to give you something." Jimmy pulled out a small package from behind his desk. "This is a care package filled with comedy, videos, jokes, funny books, everything you need for a laughter medicine kit. But more importantly, this is my personal phone number. I want you to text me after every chemo session and tell me how you're doing." Marcus started crying, but he was also laughing. "Jimmy, you don't have to do that." "I want to do that because you've reminded me why I do this job. It's not just to entertain people. It's to help them remember that joy is always possible, even in the darkest times." Jimmy addressed the audience and cameras. "Ladies and gentlemen, if you're watching this and you're going through something difficult, I want you to remember Marcus. I want you to remember that laughter really is medicine, that hope really is a choice, and that courage really can be contagious." The show continued with Marcus as co-host, and he proved to be naturally gifted at comedy timing and audience interaction. When a celebrity guest called in via video, Marcus asked her questions that were both funny and surprisingly insightful. But the most powerful moment came at the end of the show when Jimmy made his closing remarks. Tonight we learned something important from Marcus Chen. We learned that the best comedy comes from real experience, that laughter really can heal, and that sometimes the most important medicine doesn't come from a pharmacy, it comes from human connection. Jimmy looked at Marcus. "Marcus, thank you for reminding us what matters. Tomorrow when you start your treatment, I want you to remember tonight. I want you to remember that you made hundreds of people laugh and that you showed all of us what real strength looks like." Marcus stood up and hugged Jimmy, and the audience gave them a standing ovation that lasted almost 2 minutes. After the show, Marcus stayed for another hour, talking with Jimmy, taking pictures with crew members, and basking in the experience of having been not just a patient, but a performer. "Jimmy," Marcus said as he prepared to leave, "tonight changed something for me. I came here thinking this might be my last chance to laugh with you, but now I realize it's my first chance to really live." "What do you mean?" "I mean, I've been so focused on surviving cancer that I forgot about living with cancer. Tonight reminded me that I can still have dreams, still contribute something, still make people smile. That's not small, that's everything." 6 months later, Jimmy received a text message from Marcus. "Scan results came back clean. I'm in remission, ready to co-host again anytime you need a cancer survivor's perspective on comedy." Marcus's segment with Jimmy had gone viral, inspiring hospitals across the country to integrate humor therapy into their treatment programs. Marcus himself had started volunteering at pediatric oncology wards, teaching kids how to find laughter even during treatment. But perhaps the most important outcome was the Medicine Comedy series that Jimmy and Marcus developed together. Every month, they created new content specifically designed for people going through medical challenges, gentle, universal humor that could provide comfort without requiring too much energy to appreciate. Marcus continued his treatment and continued his recovery, but he also continued his relationship with Jimmy and The Tonight Show. He became a regular contributor to the Medicine Comedy series, and his insights helped shape a new understanding of how entertainment could serve healing. A year later, when Marcus was declared cancer-free, he returned to The Tonight Show as a guest. But this time, he wasn't there as a patient seeking laughter. He was there as a comedian in his own right, someone who had learned that the best humor comes from the deepest challenges. "You know what's funny about having cancer?" Marcus said during his return appearance. "Everyone expects you to be inspirational all the time, but sometimes you just want to complain about hospital food or make jokes about how ridiculous you look without eyebrows." The audience laughed, but Jimmy could see the deeper truth in Marcus's words. He had learned to transform his experience into comedy not by minimizing it, but by finding the absurd human moments within it. "Marcus," Jimmy said, "what would you tell someone who just got diagnosed with what you had?" "I'd tell them that cancer is going to try to steal a lot of things from you, your energy, your hair, your appetite, but it can't steal your sense of humor unless you let it. And if you can keep laughing, you can keep living, no matter what the doctors say about your odds." Marcus paused and looked directly into the camera. "And I'd tell them to find their Tonight Show. Whatever brings them joy, whatever reminds them that life is still beautiful even when it's hard. Because laughter really is medicine, but only if you remember to take your dose." The interview ended with Marcus and Jimmy doing impressions together. This time, Marcus did his impression of a confident cancer patient, while Jimmy did his impression of a talk show host learning that his job was bigger than he'd ever imagined. It wasn't just late-night television. It was proof that sometimes the best medicine comes not from what we take, but from what we give, and that laughter shared is laughter multiplied, healing not just the person who needs it most, but everyone willing to witness the miracle of joy in the face of fear.